Welcome back. A stunning turn of events for some in the Iowa caucuses. Victory for Ted Cruz, the Texas senator, beating Donald Trump as Marco Rubio soars to a strong third place. But our next guest says a few surprises prove that this race is far from over. And here to explain that, national political reporter, Real Clear Politics, Clayton Huey Burns. Thank you so much for getting up early with us. It was a long night, right?
Hi, good morning. Yes, a very long night indeed.
So what do you think, Caitlin? What do you think was the biggest surprise? We talked yesterday about Rubio's surge, but he finished a strong third.
A strong third with very little room between himself and Donald Trump, who placed second, as we know, and close enough to Ted Cruz to be competitive. What Marco Rubio was able to do was create a lot of distance between himself and those other mainstream establishment-oriented candidates he was competing with. And so that gives him a big boost of momentum heading into New Hampshire, where the primary takes place next week.
Yeah, and something else that proved important with perhaps Cruz winning Iowa would be the ground game. He campaigned in all 99 counties in Iowa, right?
He did, and his victory here shows that that traditional shoe leather campaigning does pay off. There were questions heading into Iowa of whether Donald Trump, with his kind of national style of politics, he really only spent the night there a couple of times this whole campaign, while Ted Cruz traveled to every county by Monday's caucuses. And so that shows that style that does tend to do well in Iowa still holds.
And just quickly, I know who is surprised this morning also. That would probably be Hillary Clinton's camp and how closely that race ended up between herself and Bernie Sanders.
Right. The Clinton campaign is now declaring victory, but this is a very uncomfortable position for her, given that Sanders closed in as close as he did. She now has to go to New Hampshire, where Sanders has a commanding lead and is a more natural fit for that state. So that figures to be a very competitive race heading forward. And
that's what we wanted to talk about, Caitlin. We only have about a minute left. Moving forward to New Hampshire. Speaking of Sanders, he raised $20 million in January alone. You said he leads in New Hampshire by a significant amount. So does Donald Trump. So what do you think is going to happen there?
Well, I think New Hampshire is going to be a must-win state for Donald Trump. He can suffer that loss in Iowa fine. He is not really tailor-made for that state. He can spin that in a way of, pointing to the way that Ted Cruz had really tailored his campaign to Iowa. New Hampshire is a must-win state for Donald Trump, and at his heels there will be Marco Rubio, who has this new momentum heading into New Hampshire.
Okay, and in 20 seconds or left, who should skip New Hampshire? Anyone head straight to South Carolina?
Well, there are several candidates competing in New Hampshire. I think Ted Cruz can do well there, but he doesn't really need to. I think Ted Cruz can go start competing in South Carolina, and then those other southern states that vote in unison on March 1st, the so-called SEC primary. That'll be a big day.
Yes, we're going to talk a little bit more about that coming up. Caitlin Huey Burns, thank you so much for joining us.